When it comes to self-help, you want to get right to the point. The workbook from author Alicia Puzzany, Emotional Strength Explained, can help you see results quickly instead of overthinking or operating from a naive, unsure, or people-pleasing state where you look for immediate gratification. With the help of this workbook, you can become stronger emotionally. Whether you're embarking on something new or working through things with yourself or others, understanding what makes you, you is the crucial first step in coming out on top. Your emotions don't have to control your life. You can learn a better way. With this workbook, you'll work toward a stronger, more confident, less needy you. It's for adolescents, teenagers, adults, and seniors. This is an easy-to-use workbook. With just a few minutes each day, you can become stronger and feel better. You can use this workbook over and over through various areas and stages of your life. Life isn't easy. When times get tough, we need to dig deep and utilize our emotional strength. Emotional Strength Explained from author Alicia Puzzany. Available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon and the author's website, aliciapuzzany.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Make sure that you subscribe and follow on whatever platform you are listening to us on. All right, well, everyone's talking about Joe Rogan again, and it's amazing what's going on. There is a major collapse of the mainstream media going on. And what's going on with Joe Rogan, most everybody in the media that's talking about Joe Rogan is missing what's going on here. This is not about his interview with the doctor. It's not about the N-word. It's not about any of those things. Joe Rogan has more people listening to his program every week than CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. In fact, Tucker Carlson, who was the highest rated name in cable news history, not just number one now in history, that means Tucker Carlson has higher ratings than Larry King, and Larry King didn't have competition for most of his time, right? Joe Rogan has more people tuning into him every week than Tucker Carlson. So what this is about, it's not about any of these issues. It's about the media, like when Trump was dictating on social media, the narrative of that news cycle. They're trying to bring down Joe Rogan because he's controlling the narrative now, not
That's
them.
exactly right. In fact, he is becoming the show of record with a lot of things. And what's happening is, because he's got so many people listening and he's getting so much publicity now, is, you're right, shows like Tucker and these other shows, they're having to gauge his audience and they're having to possibly alter what they put out there based on what's discussed on his show.
Tucker's doing segments based on what Joe Rogan was doing.
And we've seen that is true, because a couple of weeks ago, some of the guests he had on his show ended up being on Fox days later. And things that happened with Joe Rogan were then being discussed on Fox after him. He is leading the pack now, and they don't like that. They don't want to have to, especially this guy. He's not a news guy. He's not a journalist. He's just some regular Joe guy who speaks his mind and has people on. And because he has so many listeners and he has so much publicity, a lot of people want to go on his show and be a part of it. And they're having to look to him now to gauge what they talk about sometimes and what they do. You know, and they don't like that.
Joe Rogan is not a conservative. He's really more liberal. He's a Bernie Sanders guy. And, you know, what he's going through what Trump went through. What Trump went through was for a lot of reasons. But the main reason that Trump had a lot of problems is because he was controlling the narrative. And if you go back in time, the media liked to set the narrative and then have everybody respond to it. And Trump would put out a tweet and everybody would be talking about whatever he tweeted. He tweeted 5 a.m. and the whole day that's what was being discussed.
They couldn't
until
wait.
He tweeted again.
That was the first thing they would do, was check his Twitter feed every morning. And he made a joke about it. One time he said he was lying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. The guy never sleeps. and he tweeted something, and he said literally 10 minutes later, it was being discussed on the news.
Yeah. And, Trump is not on social media right now. No. He'll be back with True Social. They're saying now sometime in March. But he's not on social media right now. And Joe Rogan is commanding the narrative. And they want to – it's about putting their competition out of business, the mainstream media. That's what's going on here, putting their competition out of business.
Yeah, there's a lot of jealousy going on. People in that business, and you work in broadcasting on a different level in radio and stuff. You've been in a long time. And I know that it's not very different from Hollywood. You have a lot of big egos, a lot of insecure people, and a lot of professional jealousy, extreme competitiveness. Brian Stelter, CNN is having they're imploding so badly, and everybody's watching it. It's got to be humiliating. Brian Stelter is just spending all his time on the air spinning this and trying to make it like it's everybody else's fault but his or CNN's. Like, he said the other day, I saw, like, if you're watching it here, it's real news. We're real news. We don't lie to you. We don't make things up. I mean, he is in panic mode over this because they have lost their credibility completely. And when you have somebody like Joe Rogan that's interviewing people that they won't interview and putting out different information that gets people actually thinking for themselves, they don't like that. They're losing their grip on their control over you, and they're losing their ability to propagandize to the public. And also, this began with Trump. The media lost the ability to choose who was the president and the senators and all that stuff, and they're freaking out. Now, today, Rumble is having a meltdown.
Yeah, today, Rumble here in Florida had like a special meeting with the top people at Rumble here in Florida, in Sarasota, Florida. And it's not a coincidence at the same time that they had their big board meeting for Rumble today here in Florida that Rumble came out and offered Joe Rogan $100 million to leave Spotify to go to Rumble. And I know a lot of people say, oh, we'll take it. It's not that easy. We don't know what deal he made with Spotify. Mm-hmm. He may not be able to leave if he wanted to. When people have contracts, especially these super big contracts, they have non-compete clauses. Even when they get fired, sometimes they can't work for 2-3 years. You understand? So you just can't say, well, I'm going to go to Rumble. This isn't like you're working at Walmart and get pissed off and go work at Target across the street.
Exactly.
He has contractual obligations. And
they own his ass right now.
And the thing about it, too, is, you don't know his financial situation. People think, well, he's got a $100 million deal. He's rich. Someone like Joe Rogan, you don't know how many people he's supporting. Not just his wife and family. He could be supporting his parents, his brothers and sisters, his cousins, his nieces and nephews.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to feel sorry for a guy making $100 million.
Well, he didn't make it all at once.
Doesn't matter. But, even $10 million is more than most people will ever have.
I have known and do know wealthy people, and this is not true with all wealthy people, but a lot of people that are wealthy, especially people that come into a windfall cash like Joe Rogan did, they live at that level. And you would be surprised how fast people can spend away
I'm sure.
that kind of money. So don't be so sure that he just has unlimited financial resources. He very well may not, and there's certainly contractual obligations. And he has responsibilities to also the people that work on his program, right, that have worked with him for many years, and they have families. He's got advertiser concerns. He's not just some guy in his bedroom who's putting a podcast up there. There's a lot of considerations. It's a very large business. In fact, I would think about this, guys. This is amazing. And no one, Joe Rogan has more listeners by far than Rush Limbaugh had at his peak.
Boy, I wish Rush Limbaugh was alive right now to talk about this, because I really feel he would be honest, and I don't think he would be jealous at all. I really don't. I never saw that about Rush Limbaugh. He seemed very secure with his talent and very secure with his audience. They were very loyal to him. I don't think he ever would have felt threatened by this, but you see people, the rest of the media, and I promise you, Tucker Carlson does not like this kid.
Oh, no.
There's no way, because now he's beating him 3 or 4 times, and Tucker likes to be
sometimes
the number
more.
one guy. Because everybody's talking about what Joe Rogan and what Joe Rogan's saying. I think this will die off because he can't be that interesting all the time. Maybe he can. He's not a political guy. We'll see where he takes his show now. There's different expectations now of his show. now that he's been interviewing political people and doctors and all this stuff, there's an expectation of him to deliver for this audience that he has.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be satisfied with interviews with The Rock or whatever celebrity. They're
Clint
going to want
Eastwood's kid.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to want more intriguing, provocative, informative stuff now because he's setting the bar very high.
Mm-hmm.
And but I don't think he's going to have a problem getting people on his show. But the CEO of Spotify said they're not getting rid of him. That's not going to happen. But they have deleted over 100 of his episodes. They own him now. He has to do whatever they say. That he has no say. You're right. I think when he signed the contract, which I'm sure is extremely ironclad and has a lot of clauses or whatever you want to call it, and they own his show now.
He may not,
so they can remove his show at will.
He may not even own
his episodes.
He may not even own his name.
I mean, look at George Lucas. He made a deal and he destroyed Star Wars with this deal. He sold Star Wars to Disney. They destroyed it. Now they're trying to get it back as a different thing on Disney Plus with the new shows. But he signed away all his rights and everything to that franchise. And look what they did with it. They made horrible movies and everything. When you sign these big contracts and somebody's throwing $100 million at you, a lot of people will do pretty much anything to get that money. And signing away your rights to things and your rights to your show, your name, your brand, that is part of it.
It is very possible that he does not own his name.
The Joe Rogan Experience, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He may not own that anymore. He may not. Who knows? But
doubt it.
The deal they offered him seemed like just a crazy size deal. And that old saying, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Now, Joe Rogan has done 2 apologies in the last week. I want to play the new one. From the N-word apology. Just play some of it, not the whole thing. And I still think things are going to get rough. Let me play the apology and then we'll talk about it.
I hope he doesn't do any more.
He's got to stop apologizing.
I mean, it's just insanity.
The apology's got to stop. So let me just play a little bit. This is his N-word apology.
Hello, friends. I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of 12 years of conversations on my podcast, and it's all smushed together, and it looks horrible, even to me. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years.
Okay. So he agrees with them that it's wrong. Okay. Now, what happens next is unpredictable, okay? And this could get much worse for him. So far, the only people that have pulled their music from Spotify are a bunch of washed-up old has-beens that no one's listening to on Spotify, right? Mm-hmm. If someone like Jay-Z and Beyonce get all worked up over Joe Rogan and become aware of it, and they start getting their friends and to pull their music off Spotify.
I haven't seen that happen
yet. But that may not happen because they may make so much money off Spotify that they don't want to kiss it goodbye. The guy that runs Spotify seems to be standing pretty strong by Joe Rogan. So it looks like things are, here's the thing, okay? The way that the news cycles work these days is the attention span of the news cycle is very short. And this Joe Rogan news cycle is one of the longer news cycles we've had in a long time. When the Olympics are over, if things heat up in the Ukraine, this will be gone and it'll be forgotten. Mm-hmm. It'll be an afterthought.
Yeah, and
and whether he survives this on Spotify or not, we'll find out then.
He will, because once all this stuff with COVID and all this, it's already starting to die down. Schools are changing their policies as we speak.
Yeah.
Governments, state countries are removing all their mandate all this stuff. This is all going to be like in the past in 3 months, honestly. And that's really what the whole issue is as far as publicly. I don't know, unless he does something else or says something else. I think they're still going to keep going after him in the media because he's a threat. They don't like him. They're jealous.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else. I think if he just goes back to his regular Howard Stern style stuff, which he probably will, I think he's probably going to stay away from a lot of this controversial stuff for a while. I don't think he wants to bring on any more heat to himself and just make things nice and easy, because I think he gets to a point where people ask themselves, is this really worth it? I mean, is it worth the aggravation and the pressure I'm under right now to have on this guest? And he might filter things that way in the future and be Kathy, like, should I have this guy on? Am I going to deal with 3 months of aggravation?
What's going on now?
Is it worth it?
There's a few things going on now. Obviously, they have teams of people listening to every podcast that he has ever done.
He's being highly scrutinized.
They probably have another team that's going through every episode of Fear Factor to see if he said or did anything inappropriate there. They're doing anything. But he's being investigated right now. If they're not doing this now, they will soon start looking into his private life to see if they can find anything there. That's what they do. Remember Joe the plumber? And then what will happen if this does not go away? Like if there's not something, like if Ukraine breaks into war, maybe it'll go away. But if there's another,
that would dominate the news.
Yeah, if there's another layer to this thing with Joe Rogan and it continues, what they'll start to do is go after guests, and he gets a lot of very high profile guests that are very interesting, not just political people, celebrities and things like this, sports people and all this.
Oh yeah.
People like Elon Musk go over there. So what they'll do is they'll start to go after the guest so that he can't get guest any longer.
Well, he has so many views
because they don't want to be harassed
on his but he has so many views on his show. It's too tempting for people to go on it because it's a great publicity. I mean, if you have
but not if they're going to start going after you.
No, I don't know if they'd go after like celebrities if they're promoting a movie. I don't think so.
Guilt by association.
If you have The Rock or somebody on there, of course, The Rock now says he won't go on a show anymore because of the N-word thing. But because of the N-word thing. But if he has celebrities, but like it might become where he becomes a pariah.
That's
and where
right.
Not because they're afraid of being investigated, but because of his N-word thing, they might be like, well, I don't want to be affiliated with this guy or associated with him. So he might become a pariah and might not be able to get the same kinds of guests. Now, I could see that happening, that he once could. And people might say to him behind the scenes, look, I like you, you're my friend, but I don't want to commit career suicide here by being on your show and looking like I'm aligning with you. When, you know what I mean? There's too much, you get too much heat, too much bad publicity. So that might happen too, where you have PR people and movie companies saying, don't go on his show. We don't want you on there. Well, so that might become a problem for him too.
Most guests that go on a show like that are guests that are promoting something. So they're promoting a book.
Right, exactly. Promoting a movie. So they might not want to go on
there. So it's not good to promote whatever you're promoting if you're going to be branded a racist because you're sitting around being interviewed by a guy they've decided is a racist because he used the N-word 10 or 12 years ago.
Right.
Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
The search for the most dangerous book in the world is about to begin. From authors Wayne E. Haley and Sean P. Haley comes An Apology to Lucifer, now available for sale at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Apple Books, and on the book's official website, anapologytolucifer.com. In An Apology to Lucifer, Father Thomas Morelli thought he knew the story behind Lucifer's fall from heaven. However, upon making the acquaintance of renowned book authenticator Lorenzo Pellegrini and being invited to stay in the opulent Venice villa belonging to Pellegrini's master, Thomas discovers he has only heard part of the story. In Boston, psychoanalyst, best-selling author, and outspoken atheist David Wright has been tasked to handle the funeral arrangements of his dear friend, Albert Kennedy. What could have driven this controversial exorcist to take his own life? The answer, it seems, is contained in a book that isn't supposed to exist. Joining forces, Lorenza, David, and Thomas must race against time to prevent an ancient battle from reigniting. If you enjoyed The Da Vinci Code, you will love this book, An Apology to Lucifer, the most anticipated supernatural thriller of 2022, is now available at BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon, Apple Books, and on the book's official website, anapologytolucifer.com. Order your copy right now. From author Michelle dos Santos comes a book that readers have compared to Harry Potter, The Flying Feather, available online at themagicbeanemporium.com. The Flying Feather is a magical novella. It's easy to read for the young and old alike. The Flying Feather prequel is where it all starts. The first installment of this exciting series is about an ordinary boy that receives a rather unusual gift from his grandfather on his 13th birthday. When his grandfather George gives him a feather, he doesn't tell him right away what he has. In fact, inherited. Tommy soon discovers that the old pen is a family heirloom with magical properties. Tommy then has to suspend his disbelief and learn to believe. Author Michelle dos Santos is a writer who recently started offering copies of her book in her coffee shop, The Magic Bean Emporium. The Flying Feather has been gaining popularity, so now she's looking for a literary agent interested in the next big thing. Her fantastic book, The Flying Feather, from author Michelle dos Santos. Order your copy right now online at themagicbeanemporium.com. Real estate is a complex industry that offers almost anything to anyone. Real estate provides opportunities for those interested in active investing, passive sources of income, and careers as realtors and insurance agents. However, it can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. Shannon Robnett is on a mission to change this perspective. He inspires people to step up to the challenge in his podcast, Robnett's Real Estate Rundown. This podcast provides something for everyone in the real estate industry. Shannon Robnett is a second-generation builder and developer, a fourth-generation realtor, and has over 35 years of experience in real estate. He's sharing his experience and knowledge with listeners that's actionable advice on wholesaling, fix and flips, single-family, multifamily, and more. On Robnett's Real Estate Rundown, you will hear people talk about all facets of the market, including analysis, challenges, management, and successes of investment grade. Robnett's Real Estate Rundown is full of useful information for veteran real estate professionals and anyone looking to enter a career in real estate. Robnett's Real Estate Rundown is available on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Podchaser, YouTube, Spotify, and your favorite podcast platform. Robnett's Real Estate Rundown with your host, Shannon Robnett. Start listening right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. Broadcasting from sunny South Florida, Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. So the Olympics are going on. We haven't watched 1 second of it. And that's an unusual thing for us. We always watch the Olympics no matter what. We always watch the opening ceremonies, but not this time. I'm not going to sit around and honor China.
No, and they're having a real problem. It's interesting because Nancy Pelosi, remember she did that crazy video, like a hostage video
I'm going to play that in a minute.
Out of Vietnam or something, like she was being told what to say. And she was telling the athletes not to upset China, not to do anything and all this. Very weird video for an American politician. I've never seen anything like it.
Because she works for China, Nancy Pelosi.
And now you're hearing all these stories of athletes, they're not being fed. The food, somebody put a picture of the food they're eating. I don't even know what the hell it is. And it's not some weird Asian sushi. It's like
the main dish looked like a bat or something.
It looked like a dried up bat with bones sticking out. And then it looked like a little tiny raw chicken. Totally inedible food. This one athlete said her ribs are sticking out. She is so hungry. She has not had anything to eat. This is insanity.
Maybe is that something that China's doing to fix the games, to make it harder for the athletes to compete?
Maybe their athletes are being well fed.
Yeah.
And also they're complaining about how anybody testing positive, they're being removed and put in quarantine. And they should never, ever, ever have the Olympics in China, ever. We need to cut China off. They are not a nice country. They have human rights abuses. They clearly don't value human life or even kind to people. I don't know what their thinking is. But the athletes are not happy. They're complaining. They're putting out videos. Of course, they're going against Nancy Pelosi's advice and actually letting people know. She wants them to keep it all quiet and on the hush hush. It's like she knew what was going to happen. And she doesn't want them to speak out, but it's all over the social media, Daily Mail, pictures of the food. You can see it. It's disgusting. They're not eating. They're not having proper training. I think you're right. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe this is done on purpose, but I don't think they had these problems when they did the Olympics before there.
Well, something's
summer.
changed.
This is a new thing.
Something's changed. There are three.
Oh yeah, lots changed.
There were 3 American traders who have defected to the Chinese team. There were 3 American citizens who are playing for Team China, not Team USA. One of them's on the hockey team. One I forgot. Then there's a girl who is a skater, and I'm very pleased to report that the girl trader, born in California, learned to ski on the slopes of Colorado, defected from the United States, from Team USA, and is skating for Team China. She totally wiped out. I mean, she fell pretty bad and hard, and she's like in last place, and good for her. Yeah. And, these 3 American kids that joined Team China, they should have their citizenship and U.S. passports revoked. I've never seen.
I agree.
There's a thing here. Okay, now sometimes in the United States, professional athletes make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So we have, for example, on the American hockey teams, they're basically all Canadians, right? Most of them. There's a lot of Canadians there. I'm just using this as an example. There's other examples. So when the Olympics come around, guys that, like here in Florida, we have a hockey team, Florida Panthers. A lot of the guys that play for the Florida Panthers are defectors. Are Canadians. So these American kids are defectors to China. So when the Olympics come up, some of them make it on the Olympic hockey team for Canada, but they're not U.S. citizens. They just play here. Mm-hmm. These 3 kids are U.S. citizens. The girl that washed out, her mother was born in China, fled here. Her father's an American.
Ice skater.
She's an ice skater. Yeah. Her mother was from China, came here for freedom, and her father is American, and she was born in California. The one guy on the hockey team is like as white as I am, and he's got Team China on his
Crazy. I don't know what these people are thinking.
And this is just, to me, it's treason. And Pelosi, let me play this. This is what you were talking about, Kathy.
And it's stupid.
Well, they paid them. They paid them, I'm sure. They're making money.
I'm sure they're not getting their money's worth with this ice skater. She did horribly. She broke down and was crying.
Yeah.
And apparently the Chinese are done with her because I don't think they like losers over in China.
No, they don't like losers.
They like winners.
Yeah, they're not paying her to lose. So Pelosi, let me play this audio. This is the audio you were talking about, Kathy. Pelosi, who according to Peter Schweitzer in his new book, for many, many years has all kinds of multi-million-dollar deals with China that her husband and son have going on.
She's their new PR person.
Yeah. Her son and father are the Pelosi's version of Hunter Biden. They have all these deals everywhere. Crazy. And she came out late last week with a warning to Team USA members going to China, and she was talking like she was the press secretary for the CCP here. So let me play this. This is so strange. This is Pelosi last week.
To our athletes, you're there to compete. Do not risk incurring the anger of the Chinese government because they are ruthless. I know there is a temptation on the part of some to speak out while they are there. I respect that, but I also worry about what the Chinese government might do to their reputations, to their families.
Okay. Now, Pelosi, what she should be doing, the message should be to China, don't mess with our athletes. Don't mess with their families. They're Americans.
Exactly. And if anything bad happens, let us know ASAP.
Well, this is a prime example of a corrupt public official who is on the take for someone else other than her constituents in San Francisco and the House of Representatives, and she's doing a PR move for the People's Republic of China here.
Plus, I think in her twisted mind, she thinks this makes it look like she's not in bed with China.
Yeah, well,
because there's a lot of
she's out of her mind
news going around. This, Newsmax and all these other people have been breaking news lately. In this Peter Schweitzer book, have been breaking the story about her relationship with China, and I think she is saying this to try to say to people, I'm not in bed with China. Why would I say such a mean thing about China if I was in bed with them? See, I can bash China.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a twofold process. She's trying to be like a devil's advocate here and let you think one thing is really true. She's gaslighting people, make you think this is real when it's not. It's a cover. It's a smokescreen. Oh, I don't like China. They're horrible people. They treat people horribly. Don't say anything bad about them, though. I mean, it just makes no freaking sense. And I'm not in bed with China. She needs to go away and retire. She's a disaster. And let me tell you, the people of San Francisco need to get out and vote this old hag out of office once and for all. Your city's a total S-hole. She's destroyed it. There's bums, drugs, hookers, and needles everywhere. Nobody likes it. A once beautiful place. I've been there in the 80s. It was amazing. It's a total S show now. Stop electing these people. Get out and vote and get her out of office.
Yeah, and she's just a bad person. And this video that she made, it's almost like she's announcing, well, I now work as a lobbyist for China. I've never seen a U.S. Remember,
incredible.
She's not just some lowly member of the Congress. She's the third highest ranking person in the United States government as Speaker of the House.
Oh, yeah.
And for her to talk this way is terrible. Now, I want to talk about the Thomas Edison of sleep, the inventor of the MyPillow, Mike Lindell, and the great specials he has, all of which make great Valentine's Day gifts. Now, Mike Lindell has just revamped his entire website, and you'll see when you go to the website, you can put our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, right at the top of the website to access all of the savings that are there. Every deal on the website you can take advantage of. And the reason that Mike Lindell and MyPillow revamped their website, and if you've not been there in a while, go to MyPillow.com, you'll be blown away, is because they've been shut out of all of these retail stores. And Mike Lindell is depending on you to keep his company going and defend him against what he's up against. I mean, he has this $1.3 billion with a B defamation lawsuit against him. They've thrown MyPillow off of QVC, Home Shopping Network.
Oh, yeah. He was on QVC all the time.
He lived there.
I watch QVC all the time. You guys know that? He was on there 3 times a week.
Not anymore.
3 times a week.
Not anymore. And he's gotten kicked out of all the retail stores. And that's a terrible thing. Why? Because he stands up for President Trump, and he's one of us. So stand with Mike Lindell by going to MyPillow.com and buy something. Use our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, for massive savings, up to 66% off. And of course, you're supporting our program as well as supporting Mike Lindell. Now, the specials that I'm going to share with you, when you go to the website, you'll see right at the top, the new revamped website is beautiful. It says get even lower prices, and it has a spot right there at the top to put in the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, and you can take advantage of every special on the website. 50% off the MyPillow My Slippers. 50% off. I'm wearing my MyPillow slippers right now, as I do during every podcast, and they have all the styles, all the colors are in. 50% off the MyPillow My Slippers. The MyPillow bathrobes, which make great gifts for Valentine's Day, 30% off with the promo code KANE at checkout. The 6-piece MyPillow towel set, regular price $110, just $39.99 with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout. The MyPillow dog beds, just $27.99 with our promo code at checkout, KANE, K-A-N-E. Lots of great deals that you will not want to miss out on. Now, again, whatever special you see at MyPillow.com, you can take advantage of with our promo code KANE at checkout. So it's not limited to just the specials I mentioned. All specials at MyPillow.com, no matter what it says, you can take advantage of with our promo code at checkout. KANE, K-A-N-E. All right, so Ron DeSantis, the great governor of Florida, had a press conference today. And
he has one like every day.
Pretty much.
This guy.
Yeah, today he was in Miami, and he was talking about the southern border. And I'll play this for you. He says into this clip, he says, this is under Biden, it is the golden age for the cartels.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And, there's nothing, I'm going to play the audio here. There's nothing Ron DeSantis says that you could challenge. I mean, he is just spot on everything that he's saying. Here it is. Here's Governor DeSantis.
If you look at the amount of people, you'll hear things about unaccompanied alien children, and that's different than refugees, people that qualify as refugees. These are basically illegal entrants. It's important to point out, though, when they talk about, quote, children, most of these people are what would be considered in most parts of the world military-age males, 15 to 17. I mean, that's who's typically coming across. I think CBS News reported 75% of everybody, I think in 2021, was 15 to 17, and the overwhelming majority of those were males. So that's what it is. So I think it's sometimes portrayed as like, these are like, like some baby dropped over the border or something like that. That's just not what's happening. But even, regardless of that.
And by the way, 15 years old, those are either child labor or gang members if they're coming over alone.
For sure.
Yeah.
It is not a good policy to want to incentivize.
And sex trafficking.
And they're
I left that out.
Well, the key is they're almost old enough to vote.
Yeah.
Unaccompanied minors to be taking these types of voyages, because there's a huge problem with what human smugglers are doing, human traffickers, sex traffickers, drug cartels. And I can tell you, this is the golden age for the cartels since Biden became president. I mean, they are eating our lunch every single day with what's going on down there. And the sheer increase in what you're seeing is really unbelievable. So just in 2021, I mean, you're looking at about 2 million people coming illegally across the southern border. And really, they're not showing any inclination to want to change their policies in a really radical direction. If you look at the amount of fentanyl, and I know Ashley will probably want to talk about this, there's been a fentanyl come across the border. There's been enough to kill like 275 million Americans. And if you look in 2021, fentanyl was the leading cause of death for Americans between the age of 18 and 45. And so those policies are poisoning this country.
All right. So let's talk about this. Go backwards on this. Talk about the drugs first. So, the war on drugs has been reversed. It's the war on bring in as many as possible, apparently, with Biden. And, that's in itself just disgusting. And where's the press on this? They're not covering this at all. But, the thing about the everything he listed, the underage and all this, President Trump stopped a lot of things. He said over the weekend, President Trump, he gave an interview, and he said the first thing he would do when he's reelected, the first thing he's going to do is finish the wall. That's his first thing he's going to do. Is where all his focus is going to be, because this has got to stop. Yeah. Trump had stopped almost all of the drug trafficking from the southern border into this country, which is an amazing thing that they said never could be done, and he did it. He stopped the child and sex trafficking. That's back now. Everything that Biden has done at the southern border is to bring into our society some of the most disgusting, outrageous, illegal, scummy things in our society.
Well, he's one of the scummiest things in our society.
He's total scummy guy.
But these are his people, I guess. But with Trump, what they do is like what they're doing with the truckers. They label you a racist, a bigot.
Yeah.
And they use that, once they label that, for a lot of people that sticks. And they use that to to sway people to vote certain ways. So instead of focusing on the good that the wall is doing and how it's helping, because they don't want that. They want these people here. They want these people here for different reasons. So what they do is, because they can't fight him on the facts, liberals never can. They don't have the facts on their side. They label you a racist or a bigot or something, or a horrible person, and they use that to get people to vote for them. That's what the liberals do. They're doing it up in Canada. You see with these truckers now, they're labeling them violent, racist, and that they're a problem. They're arresting them now, they say, and all this stuff. They're peaceful. I saw a video. I've seen a few videos in Ottawa. The only problem is they have their trucks all over the city. Well, too bad. And
traffic jam. Sorry.
A lot of people don't drive probably in the city, and it's like New York. They walk or whatever everywhere, or take the subway. But, that's the only thing. I didn't see any fights or violence or anything like that. But they label you a certain thing to control the narrative, to control the
they label you. It's what they're trying to do to Joe Rogan. They label you a racist. They label you a danger. They remember last week Joe Rogan.
Danger to society.
Joe Rogan was killing people The truckers were violent. Let me tell you, if there was any violence in Ottawa from the truckers, it'd be all over the news. The news are not covering it now, but if there was something negative, they would. And
meanwhile, Antifa can go around and burn every city down in their wake, and they'll tell you in front of a burning car that there's nothing happening. I mean, these people are insane. And they gaslight you all the time.
And, I saw that the Ottawa police are taking the gasoline and propane away from the truckers so that they can't power their trucks for the heat because it's freezing up there. They're trying to run them off from the cold.
It gets cold up there.
Isn't that maybe the laws are different in Canada, but isn't that stealing? Aren't they stealing the gas from these truckers? Under what?
They're like siphoning it out of their cars or something?
Well, they have spare tanks, like a lot of people do. For the hurricanes, I've got a bunch of spare drums to fill gas up for our generator if there's a hurricane.
Well, they got to give them gas if they want them to move their trucks.
Well, they're hoping they'll leave when
they can't if they don't have any gas.
Yeah, well,
they won't be able to go anywhere.
But they won't they can walk and they can't handle the cold because it's sub-zero there. But it seems to me that the police are stealing their fuel.
Yeah.
Which is not cheap.
I wonder who they're getting their directions from. The police?
Trudeau.
Or the head. I'm not sure how the government works. The head of the province there, or the mayor, or whatever. I'm not sure how they're. It's the provinces. I know
it's the capital. So it looks like Trudeau is handling. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
NFTs are the newest art medium, and they're taking the world by storm. Did you know that NFT is one of the highest trends searched online? NFT Tel Aviv is all about art. They're an NFT artist agency that's a full-service talent agency, representing photographers, digital drawers, musicians, video art, and 3D artists. Some of the services NFT Tel Aviv offer are management and representation, development and minting, art research, and a lot more. They proudly represent more than 40 fine artists and have helped them get into the NFT world, and focusing on fine art as well as small and boutique collections with just 20 to 50 pieces in the collection. If you are interested in NFTs or NFT as an artist, this is the agency for you. Based in Tel Aviv, and they trade worldwide. NFT Tel Aviv, online at nft-tlv.co.il. nft-tlv.co.il. Are you looking for something new, exciting, and unique to decorate your home or office with? Kaleem rugs are colorful, they're functional, and a great way to add personality and functionality to any room. You will find a great selection of Kaleem rugs in the Etsy shop Kaleem. That's Kiliim on Etsy.com. Kaleem is an Egyptian social enterprise and lifestyle brand that aims to revive and sustain local Egyptian crafts and their communities by introducing modern designs to time-honored techniques. Inspired by the artisans they work with and driven by the impact this store has had on weavers in Fowa, a small village situated along the lush Nile Delta. Their craftsmen come from a long line of Kaleem artisans who consider the craft a part of their heritage. The artisans who make their products are preserving the Egyptian cultural heritage by practicing a craft that's been passed down to them generation to generation. The rugs are beautiful and shipped directly to you to enjoy in your home or office. They are a perfect addition to any space. Visit the Etsy shop right now. Etsy.com/shop/Kaleem. Kiliim. Make sure to use the coupon code RADIO for great savings on your purchase. That's coupon code RADIO. Kaleem. Modern living. Handcrafted. Time-honored stories. Etsy.com/shop/Kaleem. There's no doubt, today more than ever, we all need a little uplifting. Times are scary, and the world can seem lonely and frightening, but God is always present. God loves us and wants us to know He is here and always there when we need Him. The Warriors for Christ podcast seeks to uplift, edify, and encourage you to be the light and salt in a dark and tasteless world. They have new episodes weekly. Be sure to subscribe and share the Warriors for Christ podcast with your friends and family. Find the Warriors for Christ podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Player FM, Stitcher, Deezer, Amazon Podcast, and on their website, warriorsforchrist.podomatic.net. That's the number 4, warriorsforchrist.podomatic.net. Warriors for Christ, letting the Bible speak and teach for itself. From From author Leonie Althea comes a children's book for the entire family, How Rice Meant Peas, available on Amazon. People around the world love Jamaican culture, from its vibrant reggae music to authentic Jamaican food like rice and peas. In her debut children's book, Jamaican-American author Leonie Althea tells the fascinating tale of how rice meant peas, a story that teaches kids the value of showing love, kindness, and acceptance. Despite being different, rice and peas become best friends as they travel through Kingston, Jamaica, and inspire everyone to be polite, kind, and nice. How Rice Meant Peas is available on Amazon in Kindle and hardcover editions for kids aged 6 to 10. It's perfect for parents, grandparents, and teachers for classroom reading. Come along and explore the adventures of Rice and Peas as they jump and jive to that sweet reggae beat. Order your copy right now on Amazon. How Rice Meant Peas from author Leonie Althea.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. During the break, we were watching Biden has a press conference today with the new German chancellor. Olaf something or other, and they're talking about Ukraine. This is all we need is Germany. This new chancellor that's at the White House, I don't know anything about this guy other than he's the German chancellor, but in this, he has the same job that Adolf Hitler used to have, okay? So I'm watching the press. I have no interest in anyone from Germany telling the United States what we need to be concerned about in Europe.
Well, I noticed.
How well did that go back in the 40s?
I noticed with Joe Biden, I think he's had some new work done. His face looked extremely smooth. He looks like Odo from Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
The shapeshifter. Honestly, he has had so much work done that I don't think he can blink or close his eyes. His eyes are like little slits now because he's had so much. If you look at videos of him when he was in his 50s, you will see he had big bags under his eyes, and he looks younger now than he did when he was 50 years old.
Looking, and
I mean, his face, his skin,
his thought
younger.
Process doesn't. Just
no,
his
I'm
skin.
saying, look, his skin is very tight, and what I saw today was extremely smooth. Now, he might be wearing makeup, but it looks like he's had some new work done, new Botox or something. Because his skin looks as smooth as a baby's butt right now.
It was Botox, Juvederm, those fillers.
Something. He's had something done recently, and they're going to pickle that guy. They're trying to keep him looking young, and they probably got him pumping him so full of stuff all the time. He probably has a catheter like I do. To give him constant IVs and IV medications. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So they're pushing us into this war, and they're on TV all weekend, and they're saying, "Well, Russia could invade at any minute Ukraine." So what?
Well,
what are we supposed to do?
I feel bad for the Ukrainian people. I don't know too much about it, but they're I've seen them on the news. They're going to defend their country.
Oh, good for them.
I don't agree with countries invading each other. It causes problems, and there's no reason to do it. Other than he wants their oil or one of their natural resources, or something, behind that. He's just acquiring it. And that's what Hitler did. Hitler invaded countries and took them over. I don't like it, but should we get involved? I don't know. I don't know about it.
This thing with the German chancellor there with Biden, the Germans have all kinds of business deals going on with Russia. So I don't want to hear any crap that Germany and Russia hate each other. They got huge deals. And
Germany has a history of doing the same thing.
Exactly. I just have a feeling like when I see Joe and his staff so passionate about Ukraine, it's so obvious what it is. Joe has a bunch of business interest in Ukraine, and if Putin takes over, it blows all his business corruption down there, and he doesn't want his business dealings
possibly to
be disrupted. There's no, I don't want Putin to invade Ukraine or anywhere else. I don't want a war, but it doesn't mean we should be involved in it.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know too much about it. I don't really follow this in the news.
Well, that's the problem. If it was Kathy, that tells you what you need to know. If Putin invaded Canada, okay. If Putin invaded even Mexico or Cuba, okay, that's in our area. What do we? 99% of Americans, and I'm one of the 99%, okay? I'd have to think about it. I could find it, but it would take me a minute. If you gave an unlabeled map, no labels, no nothing, to 99% of the American people, including Kamala Harris, they would not be able to find Ukraine on an unlabeled map.
Well,
so that means it's not important.
That doesn't mean that I don't agree.
You can find France. He's not invading France.
You sound a little callous here. If he was if he was invading Canada or Mexico, I would definitely have a problem.
Yeah,
with
well,
it.
That would affect
I don't
us.
like it. Well, even if it doesn't affect us, I mean, I think it's a concern. I don't mind. We're a big country and we have a lot of resources. I don't mind helping smaller countries. When they're being invaded, I'd like to know why, other than he just wants them back. I don't think so. There's got to be more to it than that. This is the deal. He's been wanting Ukraine back for a long, long time. And he couldn't do it under any other president. And now he can because Joe Biden's a stooge.
Yeah.
And he's checked out. And he's been waiting for the right stooge to be in office.
Yeah.
And now he's there. And he knows he's not a threat or a problem. But we'll see. They haven't invaded yet. We'll see what happens, and we'll see how Ukraine handles it. Now, they might just cave and say, we're not going to fight you and take it, but I don't think so. From the way the people there were talking, it's like they're like, we're going to defend this and defend that. It's their country.
Good for them.
I don't like countries being invaded.
No, nobody does.
It's not nice. And
yeah, but we shouldn't be going to war.
No, but maybe we could help them in some way, giving them weapons or whatever they need, resources.
Kathy,
but
I don't know how nice they are.
We're supposed to sit back and just watch the Russia invade them and do nothing. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
It's to help your fellow man.
Ukraine is obviously corrupt. They're doing business with Biden.
Well, that's just a few people.
Michael Cohen's wife is from Ukraine.
But I wouldn't hold the whole country accountable for. I mean, we have corrupt people here too. I don't hold Americans accountable.
They got this Carrot Top-like comedian as their president. Well, it doesn't sound like a place of stability.
Well, no, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't know too much about it. You've had people call in the show that are living in Kiev and stuff. I don't know too much about the Ukraine. I don't even know how big it is. I'll have to look it up on that map you're talking about because I have no clue where it is either. Now, but I'm not very good at geography.
Now, we had a bit of an adventure today. Today, I did something I don't do too often. Most guys don't. I went to the gynecologist office with Kathy today.
Thank you for sharing.
And
2-hour appointment.
Oh my goodness.
My exam did not take 2 hours. I waited 2 hours and the exam took about 5 seconds.
So we go to the gynecologist office and I was in the waiting room for 2 hours.
You were the only man there.
Yeah, and I couldn't get a cell signal, so I had no internet. So I just had to sit there for 2 hours in the gynecologist office. And
read all the gynecology magazines.
No, they have
all the women's magazines.
There were no magazines there because they don't, because of COVID. They're freaked out over COVID.
You need to get Candy Crush. on your phone.
Nothing, no internet, nothing. I couldn't even make a phone call on my phone in the place. And
poor thing.
And
you're not the one who had to sit in a thing and have the doctor check things out.
Well,
okay, I'll trade places with men. Don't realize how lucky they have it. Women have to deal with so much crap that men don't have to deal with. I mean, I know you have to go to get a proctology exam once in a while, but that's nothing compared to what women got to do.
When I was in the waiting room for 2 hours at the gynecologist office, I was the only man within, I don't know how long, in that office and the waiting room and everything.
Oh, we were there 2 hours.
And I could tell the women were uncomfortable that I'm sitting there in the waiting room. They didn't like it.
Maybe they thought you were transitioning.
You never know.
Maybe you're really a woman, but you're becoming a man.
This is what I was thinking, okay? Because when Kathy
could be in these days, you never know.
When you went back to the doctor, you left your purse with me.
That's
and I had and in the chair next to me, I had your purse. And they make you wear masks at this office. So I was wearing a mask because you're not. They will not let you in without a mask.
And I needed you there to help me.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah, and so I was thinking that I bet these women,
they might think you're a woman.
They might think I'm a woman transitioning to a man,
getting your annual pap.
Exactly. I thought that. I was thinking that the whole time.
You never know these days.
I was thinking about that the whole time, that they probably think that I'm like, Caitlyn Jenner in reverse.
You never know. These days, you never know.
And I'll tell you this: I did not realize that the gynecologist, because the women coming in, were from all ages. Young to like
you got to start
Nancy
with
Pelosi
18.
age. And I didn't realize that women Nancy Pelosi's age still went to the gynecologist.
Unfortunately, we have to do this.
But let me tell you guys, because I saw the women that came in and out. This is not a job that any man would want. I know a lot of guys.
A lot of guys are gynecologists.
I don't know who would want that job.
I don't know anybody that would want that job, but they make a lot of money. They deliver babies. And
I did see one pregnant lady.
But I don't think I'd want to look at hoo-has all day. I'm sorry. Just like a proctologist, would you want to do that all day long?
Certainly not the ones that came into the office today, okay?
They all look the same, Brian.
It's not like, it's not like...
Oh, so if they're better looking, it makes it easier for you? You're not looking at their face.
No, it just seems very strange. It's
very clinical. Thing. My doctor's very, very good. She's fantastic.
But I do think...
And it's a very skilled profession. So thank God for the gynecologist.
I do think, though, that the women in there, some of them had to think that I was like a transitioning woman into a man.
Know. They're probably with your purse.
I didn't think about it at first. And then when I was there for 2 hours and I had your purse, I was like, they're probably wondering, why does this guy have a purse?
Well, at least it was a Gucci purse. So it's very fashionable.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very fashionable.
Yeah.
So at least they might think that about you because you had a Gucci purse.
Maybe.
They might think you are some.
Maybe.
No, I'm just kidding. I doubt it though.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't care.
I can't see you as a woman ever.
I can't either, Kathy. I hope not.
You just don't look like that at all.
Thanks a lot, Kathy. I'm glad.
You don't have those kind of
up.
features. You have like a square jaw and deep set eyes. No, you definitely don't look like that.
No, it was a strange thing. So, AOC, who drives a Tesla, lives in an expensive apartment. She had some words of wisdom.
To me, capitalism at its core, what we're talking about when we talk about that is the absolute pursuit of profit at all human, environmental, and social cost. That is what we're really discussing. And what we're also discussing is the ability for a very small group of actual capitalists, and that is people who have so much money that their money makes money and they don't have to work.
What does she do for work? AOC.
Nothing. She produces nothing. She does nothing. She
votes yay or nay on bills.
Exactly.
What does she do?
She doesn't understand all the small businesses, all the people that are employed. She has no concept of capitalism. And I remember there was one guy on TV. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Ben Carson or somebody said capitalism gets more people out of poverty.
That's right.
Than the government could ever dream about. And that is true. The government keeps you in poverty. Look at these people living in government housing and living off the dole. They live in poverty. They're not living good lives. The only way out of poverty is educating yourself and capitalism. You have opportunities.
Right. Yeah. Let's see what else she has to say.
And they can control industry. They can control our energy sources. They can control our labor. They can control massive markets that they dictate and can capture governments, and they can essentially have power over the many. And to me, that is not a redeemable system for us to be able to participate in for the prosperity and peace for the vast majority of people.
Okay, now her salary is 6 figures a year. She's made some money off that movie they made about her. I mean, she sounds pretty capitalist to me.
The government, is far more destructive to people. Than any business. And she's right. There are these businesses that have influence over politicians and all this stuff and markets, and that's true. But the government also has influence over these things, and the government is full of corrupt people, and creates more damage to this country than anything, than Amazon or Tesla. They create jobs. And sure, Jeff Bezos is disgustingly rich and all this stuff, and maybe he has influence over politicians and this and that, whatever. But do you really think he's more of a problem for this country than Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden that are actually passing laws?
Well, the way AOC's
that
talking,
affect our lives? No.
The way she's talking, it's right out of a college course, right? It's like somebody that's never lived in the real world.
Who's feeding her? Because I feel like she reads off a script. Who's feeding her these lines? I feel like she's too stupid to come up with this stuff on her own.
Yeah.
I think she's getting scripts, and she's a spokesmodel, if you can call her a model. And I think she's just told what to say. She memorizes it, and she says it because there's no way she comes up with these complex thoughts on her own.
Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much, everyone. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on every episode. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, Dee, Pamela, Jacqueline, Rick, Rich, and Nick. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode of our program. There's a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com, and the direct website address is patreon.com/realbriancraigshow. Patreon.com/realbriancraigshow.
Okay, so this is breaking news. I follow Breaking 911. It's a good Twitter feed. It says the Justice Department signals it might be willing to allow safe injection sites for people to use heroin or other drugs.
What, the federal government?
This is from the Associated Press.
When is heroin safe? Where's that?
And then somebody's response was funny. Let the people get high and keep their mind off what the pinko commies are doing to our country. They want to create a culture of, they love this. They want to create a culture of drug addicts and people dependent on drugs and substance abuse problems. Because when you're a successful straight person, I don't mean straight sexually, I mean straight as in off drugs, and you're a successful person who works and contributes and pays attention, you're no use to the government. They want somebody who's drugged out, whacked out, stoned out of their mind, that's just going to sit at home and collect their government checks and let them do whatever the hell they want to the countries. They don't want you to pay attention.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're encouraging drug use. Why else do you think that they encourage drug use? They encourage crime. They encourage people to steal Louis Vuittons out of the mall. They encourage people to burn down cities. I mean, really, if you're a Democrat, what does the Democratic Party do that is good for this country?
Yeah.
What the hell do they do that's good for us? Because everything they encourage is a crime, is bad for you. They encourage sex trafficking. They want prostitution legal. They have no morals, these people. Absolutely zero morals. Anything that's bad for you, they're all for it.
Yeah, it seems that way.
It's incredible.
In this press conference today with the German Chancellor and Biden, Biden said that the German Chancellor, has the complete trust of the United States. There's no doubt about Germany's partnership. You know, President Trump was always talking about how Germany and other countries don't pay their NATO dues, which they're probably not paying again. He was getting them to pay. They're probably not paying anymore because Trump's not around to make them do it. And he kept pointing out this huge energy deal that Germany has with Russia. There's no way with this huge energy deal, which is a big source of their energy, that Germany wants Putin in any bad light at all. I mean, there's such a, the media, I don't know what the media is all about sometimes. I don't know. Are they wanting a war in Ukraine for television ratings?
I don't think they even know what's going on.
Are they just stupid? What's I don't understand.
As Peter Navarro says, it's a trifecta. It's a mix.
Yeah.
They obviously don't care about ratings. And we were watching Greg Gutfeld's, a replay of his show. I need to start recording his nighttime show. It's very good. Very good. My dad loves him.
Great.
He is fantastic. And I didn't like him before, but I tell you, his new show really suits him. And whoever does his writing, because he's always reading off papers. He doesn't tell jokes off the cuff, rarely. But that's okay. He has great writers. And I was watching his show, and they had that Dagan lady on who's really good.
From Fox Business.
Yeah. And they were talking about CNN, and she said that CNN does not program for the viewers. That's why they're failing. She said it, and Brian Kilmeade was on, and he said, we pay attention to all the ratings all the time here at Fox. It drives this network. That's why you saw the firing of Chris Wallace, Donna Brazile, and Juan Williams, because they saw that they were losing viewers. He said CNN doesn't pay attention to ratings. So obviously they have something else. Maybe it was created by the government a long time ago. Maybe it is just an arm of the government or an arm of the politicians to spread propaganda, but they don't care about ratings at all, apparently. And like she said, they don't even program for their audience. She said they program for themselves and for whatever agenda they want to pass. But right now, their ratings are hurting them and they're imploding. And I don't think they know which end is up half the time. I'm sure there's a lot of infighting and a lot of problems there.
That's something, you got to be very careful about. Now, listen, we're going to take our last break. When we get back, I've got some audio from Brian Stelter over the weekend I want to go through and analyze because and we've got a big update on Chris Wallace we'll talk about after the break. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
From author Martin Armitage comes a book that you will want to add to your must-read list, Switching Gears, available on Amazon. When author Martin Armitage decided to hike the entire 273-mile length of the Long Trail, stretching from the Canadian border in the north all the way to the southern end of the state of Vermont, he never guessed that it would forever change the way he looked at his life. Just a few short days into the walk and forced to call a halt as an injury prevented him from continuing, he was filled with anger and a sense of failure and frustration. mission, but what seemed like a flop on the surface was soon transformed into something else. As Martin came to recognize his own overconfidence and arrogance had played a significant part in his failure, and galvanized himself to return to the trail with a very different attitude. In Switching Gears, author Martin Armitage tells the story of how a sudden epiphany he experienced about Mother Nature led to a new respect for the great outdoors, and how that change helped him to rediscover the meaning of his own life and what was really important in it. In essence, he came to understand that whether in life or hiking a trail, enjoying the journey is the most important part of it, and not the final destination. This book is perfect for book clubs. Order your copy right now. Switching Gears from author Martin Armitage. Available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. From author Peter Allen Turner comes the book Zach Watkins, Blood Trail West, available on Amazon. The year is 1763. The French and Indian War is over, but even before the ink is dry, tensions reach a boiling point. English settlers, hungry for land, ignored the treaty's terms and poured over the Appalachian Mountains. They believed they had earned the right to hunt, trap, and explore the land to the west. Hoping to escape the political turmoil sweeping through the colonies, Zach Watkins and his Mohican friend Henry, two young men fresh from the war and thirsty for adventure, ventured into the Ohio Valley. What started as a peaceful journey quickly becomes a bloody trail. And soon, Zach and Henry find themselves once again fighting for their lives. Will Zach and Henry survive the latest war and avoid torture? Or will they die and be buried in an unmarked grave? Find out when you read Zach Watkins' Blood Trail West from author Peter Allen Turner. Available on Amazon. Brian Craig here. We heard from another loyal listener of the Steve Kane Show, Wisconsin Gary. He and his wife ordered the MyPillow foam mattress, and Wisconsin Gary called in to share their experience.
We ended up buying the MyPillow mattress, and believe it or not, Brian, for 2 days since we've had it, I have gotten the most wonderful night's sleep. First night that we got it, that when we were watching you on the show, that all of a sudden, didn't take long, I was already actually snoring in her ear. So that's how quick this mattress is really done for us. So we were really happy that we got this mattress. It's great. It just completely enlightens you in the morning and everything. And it's just an outright great product. We have the foam mattress that we have on here. We just love it.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. And with the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, on the MyPillow foam mattress, 30% off, and you get 2 free MyPillows with that, as well as a free set of 100% cotton Giza Dream Sheets and free shipping with the promo code Kane, Kane. Well, that's a great story, Gary. I appreciate that, and thanks so much. Yeah, he's a good MAGA guy there, Wisconsin Gary, with his MyPillow mattress, 30% off with the promo code Kane. You get 2 free MyPillows, a free set of the 100% Giza Cotton Dream Sheets with the promo code Kane, and free shipping. That's amazing, right? You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Just came out in Ottawa. They've banned honking.
Yes, they
because of the truckers' convoy.
Kat Tur just tweeted this from Disclosed TV. Judge bans honking in downtown Ottawa for at least 10 days. This is not a joke. I've seen this on many Twitter feeds right now. So, now they're going to try to control. Well, what's happening is
the semi-honks.
The semis and the people that live there in the city, the very wealthy people that live there are very unhappy. And they're probably honking their horns all night long and driving them absolutely nuts. And they can't sleep.
Oh, my goodness.
Cry me a river.
This is, I talk about this sometimes, and people don't realize Canada, the UK, Australia, they are not free countries like the United States. And all these spoiled babies, like AOC and Antifa and stuff, this trucker, the Freedom Truckers, is so interesting, right? The police are taking their gasoline. They
want to confiscate their trucks now.
Yeah,
they're talking about.
That's that they privately own,
towing them away.
They want they have outlawed through this judge's order the honking of horns in the city. In the United States,
it's a simple solution. Just end the vaccine mandate. Boom. problem solved.
They have some kind of constitution up there, but it's not like ours. And they do not have freedom of speech. They do not have freedom of assembly like we have here. And these overeducated people, well, I hate to say overeducated with AOC, but she spent too much time in college lectures, when you heard her talk on capitalism is when you look at the secular response to the,
it's right out of a textbook.
I don't know what she's talking about,
Neither does she.
But they don't realize how much freedom we have in this country. And people that are always trying to get America to apologize. Canada is freer than most of the world, and they're slaves compared to us in the United States. And the freedom truckers, you really see that.
Well,
the way they're being treated.
Yeah. And they talked about it on the news a lot recently on the local news because we get a lot of snowbirds down here from Quebec and Canada my cousins are snowbirds. They have a house down here and they come down for the winter. They're here now through March. But a lot of Canadians, they have said, are not going back. They are staying here. They're permanently moving here all year round, which is unheard of because they always go back home for the summer, for the heat. They can't handle it. But they're willing to brave the 95-degree weather and the humidity rather than go back home to their country, to their home country. That's how bad it is right now. And this thing with the truckers, I think, is going to be a disaster. But it ends up being a pissing contest. And I don't know if anything's going to come of it. And let me tell you, that old saying, you can't fight City Hall. And the government, they're not going to let these guys win. They're not going to let these guys win. They're playing nasty. They're maligning them. Now they want to tow their trucks away and take their livelihood. We'll see what happens with this. But I don't know. Trudeau is to me a brat, a spoiled brat. And he's the kind of guy, when you challenge him at all, you see a very nasty, dark side of this man. Everybody thinks he's so handsome and dances and so fun. Challenge him, and now you see what's happening. His nasty side comes out, and people are seeing his wrath.
You know what? The leaders,
of defying his decrees.
The leaders in Canada, the Justin Trudeau level, they're like the Oxford crowd from the UK. They're very snobby. They believe that everyone that's not in their class is just stupid and ignorant and not worthy of a voice or an opinion. And this Freedom Truckers is the beginning of something big. Now, I want to play this monologue, actually. We'll end the show with this, with Brian Stelter at CNN.
Oh, yeah. I saw this the other day.
Now, Jeff Zucker was fired. We were talking on the last episode of the program by John Malone, a huge Trump donor who was the number one largest shareholder in the company that just bought CNN. He's the one who fired Jeff Zucker. And it wasn't really over that affair with that underling. That was the excuse. He wanted to get rid of him, and he just used that as an excuse. And a lot of people refer to Brian Stelter as Jeff Zucker's mini-me, right? And if you watch CNN...
Not very mini.
You know what I mean. But if you watch CNN over the past few days... They're freaking out over there, right? We played some audio on the show over the weekend of Don Lemon was crying over Jeff Zucker. Jake Tapper's just going on rants, and Brian Stelter, you'll hear here.
Chris Wallace is freaking out.
Oh, yeah. Chris Wallace, he was lured over to this CNN app by Jeff Zucker. Zucker's gone. He has no show, no staff, no producers. He's got nothing going on, Chris Wallace. Nothing. He's a man alone over there. He has no staff, nothing, no cameramen, nothing.
He's such a snob. He's like the guy they just
don't you know who I am? Mike Wallace was my dad.
Yeah, they've just stuck him in a corner in in a linen closet or something over there. He's got nothing going on. He can't handle it.
And what's happening is everyone at CNN that's on the air, they feel like they're going to be fired, so they're just unhinged on the air, and it's beautiful to watch. So Brian Stelter is attacking people that criticize CNN, but the person he's really attacking is the guy that runs it, John Malone, the big Trump donor that fired Zucker. Listen to this. This is Brian Stelter over the weekend, just in such a bizarre monologue defending the honor of CNN.
I want to end the hour with a final thought, and I'm going to go a little bit rogue here, so bear with me. Okay?
God help us.
Oh boy, he's going to go rogue, people. Brian Stelter's going rogue. Watch out. Oh boy.
He is such a jerk.
Like he's turning into the Wolfman or something. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go rogue.
I want to end the hour with a final thought, and I'm going to go a little bit rogue here, so bear with me, okay?
God help us.
Jeff Zucker's departure was shocking. to the staff of CNN.
He is like really upset.
But CNN was not built by just one man, not by only Ted Turner, and it was not led only
Yes, it was actually
by Jeff Zucker. CNN is so much bigger than any single individual.
By the way, when
could
Ted
he
Turner,
kiss their ass anymore?
Ted Turner, a genius, when
he built that network.
When he created CNN, everyone in media said 24 hours of news, that's just too much.
You know, I read about Ted Turner. He inherited his family's billboard business.
Yeah.
And that's what made him rich at first. And I was reading the book about Jim and Tammy Faye, and they talked about this because at the time in the 60s or 70s, everybody was buying networks. But you only had the main networks, but everybody was starting to get their own network channel. Mm-hmm. And Ted Turner was starting out with TCM or TNT or whatever his network is.
TBS.
TBS, that's it, Turner Broadcasting, whatever. And he was just starting out, and he did build that network on his own completely. I remember they used to have reruns at 105 to 135.
What I remember most about TBS, which was so strange but also ingenious.
It was big in the 80s. It was coming up.
If everything on TBS, I don't think they still do it way, but everything started at either 5 minutes after the hour
5 minutes after.
Or 35 minutes after the hour. That's right.
Which was kind of smart.
So instead of starting at 8 o'clock, it would be 8:05.
What was the thinking behind that?
I don't know. Well,
the show would end.
You remember that too, though?
Oh, yeah. And I thought it was so weird. But and he ran a lot of reruns. That's really what it started, was all reruns of old shows like The Munsters and I Love Lucy. And it would start at 8:05 and end at 8:35. Well, I would think, okay, it's good it ends at 8:35 because now on other networks, the shows have already started. I don't know.
It was pretty ingenious.
So anyway, but Stelter's wrong. I mean, what has Stelter ever built?
Well, let's get back
other than a ham sandwich
and a
donut. Ted Turner did build that network and CNN.
Yeah, exactly. And Jeff Zucker built nothing.
Stelter
Actually,
did nothing.
What Jeff Zucker did was destroy what Ted Turner built.
That's exactly right.
All right, back to
it is about teams and teams of people, thousands of individuals.
Oh, and one thing,
I just can't help but laugh at this idiot.
One thing that they go through all these things that CNN did.
Yeah.
None of them, including Don Lemon. I forgot to mention this until after the last show. Don Lemon said all these things CNN's been through. None of them mentioned the Olympic bombing, which happened right outside CNN's front door in Atlanta, which was insane, right? Anyway, back to
it. Who make up CNN. This place is not perfect. It will never be perfect. We will always have flaws. We will always screw up. We will always have to run corrections. We will always have to keep working to make it better and better and better every single day. That is the goal.
Oh my goodness, this is desperate.
But the people who say we're lacking journalism.
See, this is what I was talking about.
Now the people.
He's really getting upset at his reputation.
The people that say that they're lacking journalism is John Malone, who is the number one shareholder in the company that owns CNN. And I saw him on Newsmax and a couple interviews elsewhere talking about this. He's the one who says CNN needs to get back to. So Brian Stelter is attacking John Malone, the new owner.
What's happening is he sees the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
I think he's gearing up. This is like his swan song.
Doing it my way.
Doing it my way. He's gearing up to quit, or he's going to use his platform to
get fired.
Give out these waxing poetic, boring snooze fests.
I stood up for journalism at CNN, and they fired me for it.
He knows he's in trouble. He's out of there. But if I took over, he'd be the first one to go.
Oh, yeah.
The first one to go.
But the people who say we're lacking journalism, that we've become an all-talk channel,
that
we've run off and we're all opinions all the time, that Jeff Zucker led us astray, those people aren't watching CNN.
Mm-hmm.
They're not watching CNN.
Yeah, they are.
They're watching complaints about CNN on other channels that don't know what they're talking about.
It's us.
The truth.
He is so deluded.
Let's put the map up on screen.
Nobody's watching CNN. That's the problem.
CNN has more bureaus around the world than almost any other news organization on the planet. That map covers the world. London and Moscow and Hong Kong and Beijing and Nairobi and all the rest.
Who cares?
That's why one of the network's slogans is "Go there." On the day Jeff Zucker resigned, CNN aired more than 135 reporter hits, 135 reporters in the U.S. and around the world. I'm talking about dozens of live shots from international correspondents in just one day. On the day Jeff Zucker resigned, CNN published more than 215 stories on the website, nearly 90 original videos. That's a hell of a lot of news. It's a hell of a lot of journalism. Do some of the anchors say provocative things? Yes. Do some of those clips get played over and over again on other channels and mislead people about what CNN actually is? Yes. CNN is the reporters and the producers and the production assistants and the writers and the editors and the technical directors. CNN is the executives and it's the interns and everybody in between who keeps this place running 24/7. So when something horrible happens in the world or when something wonderful happens in the world, you know where to turn. That's what CNN is.
Oh, my Lord.
We lost our leader this week, but we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you are.
So we'll see you back here next week.
Oh, my goodness.
I cannot stand that guy.
Oh, my goodness.
If I was in charge of that network, I would fire him today. What is he trying to accomplish there?
He's
that probably took him all night to write.
The party's over.
Yeah, the party's over for CNN.
The party's
That's like
over.
a swan song.
Yeah.
And what's with him laughing all the time while he's talking?
The fake laughter.
That is
the scripted laughter.
We're news. We're new. Oh, God.
Well,
he is repulsive.
Well, I heard someone say over the weekend, somebody on Fox, and they said what Zucker did was, and it was Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly said this on her show the other day. She said Jeff Zucker, when he came in, what he did is he took some people who were credible journalists, who, by the way, one of them was Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper used to be a real journalist. Before he was at CNN, he was at ABC. And when I first heard of him, he covered the Obama campaign in 2008. And then after Obama was elected, he became the White House correspondent.
Yeah.
And he used to always ask, when is the last time Senator Obama smoked a cigarette? And he was like obsessed over it. And they hated him because it was always weeks and months ago. And he knew, Jake Tapper knew that Obama never stopped smoking, even though he claimed to. And he would ask tough questions. They hated him. And then, but what Megyn Kelly said, and I think there's some truth to this, is that Jeff Zucker, when he came into CNN, took people that used to be journalists like Jake Tapper, told them, just give your opinions on things as opposed to like reporting and just, this was Megyn McCain. Did I say Megyn McCain? Megyn Kelly is who I meant to say if I said Megyn McCain. Megyn Kelly said that he took journalists that were credible journalists and just destroyed their credibility at CNN.
They did.
Like Jake Tapper, who's a terrible person now.
Brian Stelter is like,
I don't even know who he is. Where did he come from?
I don't know. But he's up Jeff Zucker's ass. That's where he came from.
Still.
And that's where he still is.
Well, he's gone now, Brian.
I mean, he is like heartbroken that this guy got fired.
They're like lovers the way he's talking.
I mean, exactly. I mean, are they boyfriends? You never know these days. Maybe they have a 14-year-old.
I don't know.
But he's devastated. And this to me sounds like he's gearing up for his last goodbye. And he's just going to be this poetic go out like, because he knows when he gets fired, he's done. Nobody's going to hire this turd to work for them. You think anybody else is going to hire this guy? I mean,
he'll like have a column on HuffPost or something.
Yeah, no, I don't even think he'll go that far. I honestly,
everybody's got to hate this guy.
He'll be like Harry Reid. Goodbye.
Do you think he's nice to all these underlings at CNN?
No,
he's praising.
In fact, I've read several articles that everybody hates his guts.
Yeah.
And what happened? What's going on is Jeff Zucker protected him at CNN.
Yeah.
His protector is gone, and now he has no buffer between him and everybody else. And he's freaking out.
And I'll just say this in closing before we go. I don't take joy in anybody losing their job. However,
maybe him.
CNN is a poison on our society. They look at what they did with their false Russia narrative for years. You know how they brought Michael Avenatti, knowing what he was all about, treating him like a credible person,
Stormy Daniels.
And that's just one instance.
Not to mention Dr. Fauci and all these people they gave a platform to, and
they've created so many false narratives.
So many.
If we got together, a group of us, and tried to write down all the false narratives of just the last 5 years from CNN, it would be an incomplete list. There's been so many false narratives, we wouldn't be able to have a complete list.
Right. Or do you think Brian Stelter is trying to save his job by sitting there saying CNN is real news? We're real news. All he does is go on TV and try to sell CNN to people.
Brian Stelter thinks that Jeff Zucker is a genius because he created him and made him a star, and he thinks that Jeff Zucker is going to end up running some other news outlet somewhere.
Never going to happen.
No one is going to hire Jeff Zucker to run anything.
Well, whatever his intention is, we know it's self-serving. So you can take that to the bank. Whatever Brian Stelter says is to help Brian Stelter.
Well, listen, we're all out of time, but we will be back next time. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Brian Craig. Always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk to you next time. If you're searching for motivation and inspiration in your life, there's a book you will want to add to your must-read list. From author Letitia Davis, Broken Pieces Restored, available on Amazon. From a young age, author Letitia Davis's life was destined for greatness. Growing up a military brat, she lived a life that some people would dream of having. But what they saw on the outside as perfect wasn't the case. Dealing with her self-esteem, mental and physical abuse led her through life broken and unsure about how she ended in a place of depression and unsure of what she wanted out of life. But one thing she did know was that she did not want to stay stuck there forever. Letitia started on a path to healing by taking a look back at her past and working her way up to the present life by rebuilding a stronger foundation of healing and building a stronger bond within. Broken Pieces Restored is a motivational book that talks about the author's life and how she grew up and ended up in a toxic marriage that broke her down, and shares how she gathered up the strength to restore herself spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Order your copy right now on Amazon, available in Kindle and paperback. Broken Pieces Restored, from author Letitia Davis.